Alright guys, so I wanted to talk to you about five that you should never do as a contractor. And most of this will apply to any kind of contracting, whether you're a plumber, electrician, carpenter, general contractor, it doesn't matter. Some of these are lessons that I've learned the hard way. Some of these are common sense, and most of you might already know this. If you are looking to get into the business, these are things that you need to learn or should be doing. But five things that you need to not do as a contractor. So, number one, don't do work without signed contracts. Alright? It may sound like common sense, but I know many of us, myself included, have done that on more than one occasion. And you might get away with it for a while, or it might bite you right away. But one thing is for certain, it will bite you eventually. Always, 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 I cannot stress enough, get a signed agreement. I don't care if it's a handwritten letter on a piece of paper that you as the contractor and your client both sign and agree to. You need to get something written and you need to get it signed. That is paramount and first and foremost, always. On the littlest projects to the biggest projects, get signatures. That way you know that the contractor knows, or excuse me, you are the contractor, that you know that the client knows what the client is going to get, what the client expects, what you expect of the client, etc., etc. Okay? And those signed agreements need to be as detailed as possible. Okay, not a 1 or 2 page contract for a home. It might be 1 or 2 page for a simple little project, but if you're doing a home, a remodel, an addition, that's going to be a lengthy contract. Okay, it needs to discuss things like what happens if the payment, there's no payment. What's the lien process? What is the process for change orders? There's so many things to detail and cover that there's no way that you can have a decent, strong contract with your client without it being lengthy. Okay, so make sure 100% that you get a contract written and you get it signed, because if you don't, someday you're gonna regret. Number two, don't do shoddy work. Okay, I know that sometimes we might not be making much money on a project. Sometimes we might even be losing money on a project. I've done that on more than one occasion. But you still got to have integrity. You still got to come through with what you said you were going to do. And you still got to do quality work. I don't care if you beg, borrow, or steal the money. Make sure that the project gets completed. It gets completed correctly. The customer and the client gets what they want. And it's done right and done well. Okay, whether you're losing money or not, I don't care if you're making 10 bucks or $1 million or no bucks. The project's got to be done, it's got to be completed, and it's got to be completed correctly. So always, 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 regardless of the circumstance, you've got a written agreement. That was number one, and you're going to fulfill it. That's number two, and you're going to fulfill it correctly. Okay, so make sure that you do that. If you start cutting corners, trying to go cheaper materials, or speed things up because you're losing money, it's going to come back to bite you. Word will spread. You're going to have an unhappy client. They're going to spread the word, etc., etc. If you lose money, you have to borrow more money from a lender or some other source to complete the project, but you do it correctly, you uphold your integrity, and you do everything the way it's supposed to be. It's going to come back to reward you. Maybe not on that project, but eventually, someday down the road, it will come back to reward you. Even if it's in the form of having a better, more thorough understanding of how much you need to be charging for the work versus how much you did charge for the work. That in of itself is a reward. Okay, number three. Number three, get change orders. Okay, get them written, get them signed. You don't make changes to the project without a change work order. You don't begin work on a change without a written change work order. And the change work order needs to be signed by both you and the client. It needs to detail what the change is. who all it involves, if it involves the planning department, an engineer, the architect, the added costs to the change. And here's one thing, almost every change, pretty much every change, is going to add a cost somewhere, somehow. Okay, whether it's your time to just write it, that should be a cost. Okay, but there's going to be a cost involved somewhere. So you need to detail what the cost of the total change order is, what the total cost change to the entire project is. So if you do a change order, moving a window, adding a window, whatever, and it's another $1,500 on a project, and that project was originally $250,000, you need to put it in there that it is now $251,500. Okay, so that the client can see that total, because they might think, oh, $1,500, no big deal. But you do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those $1,500 changes, and at the end of the project, they look at the total bill for the job, and it's $275,000, and they originally thought it was going to be $250,000. They're going to blow a gasket and flip and wonder why. And if you don't have a written change work order detailing the changes with their signature agreeing to it, they're not going to pay you. Almost 100% guaranteed you will fight that, and you're not going to get paid for it. Okay? That is almost a certainty. Get change work orders, got to be signed. Goes with number 1, but it's number 3 on my list. Change orders. Absolutely must. Do not do changes without change work orders. Number 4, I highly advise that you don't do time and material or cost plus projects. Okay, now this one here you need to really weigh and think about. But I've been burned by doing cost plus projects and time and material jobs. And more often than not, most contractors get burnt by doing those versus having success with it. And the reasons why is the client feels that they have much more control over the job. Okay, they're trying to take the control away from you. The client thinks that they're going to get a better deal because they're only going to pay for the actual costs. And by doing so, don't realize that the profit that you or your company needs to be making, and when you try to explain it to them, they don't understand it. They don't understand the overhead expenses of your company, and they don't want to pay for it. Okay, I've ran into that, and it was a huge battle that I'm still battling to this day, and I don't recommend it. It's tempting because you think, oh, how could I go wrong? I charge them for the material, I charge them for the labor, my overhead expenses, and a markup, whatever that is. Typically, most people think 10 to 15% is enough, which it's not. But you detail all that out, and then the client's going to battle you, and battle you, and battle you, and think, I don't need to pay this, or you could have gotten this material over at this other place cheaper, or whatever. This one's it's a sore subject with me. I know there are contractors that successfully pull it off and do it. I don't recommend it. I think that you'll find that it's not a preferred method of written contracts. You'll be much better off if you can be a detailed contract explaining what they're going to get. You give them a firm bid. You can add your markup in there. You can actually add more markup in there. And they just know that they're going to get this project for this amount of money. And that's it. Okay? If you are to ever do a cost plus or a time and material type, yeah, I don't even recommend time and material. Cost plus, maybe. Don't break it down like I did. I would break it down to each man made certain X amount of dollars, and I mean, I'd give them detail for detail on the actual costs, which always was a battle. I would just simply state, my company needs to make $200 an hour. That's my rate. It doesn't matter if I've got 2 guys on the job or 6 guys on the job. You determine what your hourly rate that your company needs to make is, and that's what you charge them for it. If you or any one of your guys is on that project for any amount of time, you charge them that rate for the time they're on that job. So if you got 2 guys working one day and they're there for 6 hours, well, then you charge 6 hours at your hourly rate, and that's what you bill the customer. If you've got 6 guys there for 10 hours, then you charge the customer your hourly rate for 10 hours. That is what needs to happen every single time. But I really don't advise it. Don't do time and material projects. Don't do cost plus. Last but not least, 5, don't waste your time on estimates. Okay, do yourself a favor. Don't advertise free estimates. Even if you provide them, don't advertise them. You're going to get a lot of tire kickers. You're going to get a lot of people price checking. You're going to end up spending countless hours on your off time, nights and weekends, taken away from your family and your children and your wife, calculating prices and writing proposals up for projects that never pan out or evolve into anything. Okay, I've done this. I have lost so much time with my family, time that could have been spent on more productive things, doing that very thing, writing up proposals, doing bids, and just doing all the math and gathering information and presenting a nice proposal for it to not pan out. Okay, do your homework. Try to pre-qualify the customer as much as possible. A client comes to you, they want a new home. Ask them if they've gotten funding yet. Ask them if they've talked to their lender. Do they have a building design yet? Have they talked to an architect? Have they bought in some plans somewhere? If they don't have an architect or a set of plans, they don't know what they want built yet, or they haven't talked to a lender, they're not ready to talk to you as a contractor. They need to go do that stuff. Be kind and help them, assist them. If they need a recommendation of an architect, recommend them one. Maybe give them some pointers on the direction that they need to be going at that phase of their process. But don't work any numbers at all. You're just wasting your time. Okay? Just don't do it. Pre-qualify the customer as much as possible. Rather than giving them bids and estimates so they know how much something's going to cost, give them, you as a contractor should already know what some things cost. If you're going to build a new home, you already have an idea of what this price per square foot is going to be. So if they come to you and they say, we want a single-story rancher, it's 2,400 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with an attached 2-car garage, pretty straightforward home, you can quote them what your price per square foot is for a home like that, and obviously let them know that that price is going to vary on complexity and trims and siding and finishes and what. Oh, there's lots of variables. Okay, but you can give them a number over the phone. Hey, I charge $180 a square foot. That's not actual my price, but I'm using that as an example. I charge $185 a square foot for a home. And typically what that includes is, okay, that gives them a starting point. They can do the math, or you can do the math with them over the phone. So your home's going to cost you $396,000. I don't know if that's the right math. I just threw a number out there. You will know by their response over the phone if they're scared by that, if they've got that kind of money, if they're kind of taken back by it, or if they're like, oh, okay, well, now we have an idea. Okay, you've just saved yourself a buttload of time from sitting down and actually getting a firm number that you can give to them that they're going to expect to pay. Now they've got a generalized ballpark what to aim for, and now once they get a home plan, once they've bought in their parcel of land if they don't have it already, and once they've gone through all of the processes that should be done before they talk to you, they've already got an idea what it's going to cost. So when they come back to you the second time, it's a much more solidified thing that you're going to get that job. Okay? You're not wasting your time, you're not doing free work, and you're not taking time and money away from your family. Now, if you want to do a free estimate, that's your prerogative. I actually recommend charging some sort of small fee, probably not even enough, but say a couple $100. Say, hey, you know what? I will work up your estimate for you. It's $200 to do the estimate. If you award me the project, I take that $200 off the cost of that job. Okay? So really, it's no more expense to them. But if you spend all that time and you don't get anything for it, it's time wasted. And time is money. All right? I don't recommend free estimates, but if you do, that's fine. Pre-qualify your clients and make sure that you're not wasting your time doing it. That's number 5. I hope you enjoyed these 5 tips of what not to do as a contractor. I know there's a lot of others. These are the ones that are just weighing on my mind at the moment. I might do another one down the road, or I might do another one, 5 things that you should do as a contractor. This kind of included that a little bit. But anyhow, again, if you like this video, you want to see more like it, please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and ring the bell to get notifications when I post new videos. And thanks for watching.